The show begins to show us a female soldier hiding. She holds her gun panting in fear because a Terminator has been deployed to take her life. Outside where she's hiding, we see hundreds of soldiers who are being massacred by the Terminator. The Terminator searches carefully for survivors. The woman who knows she can't hide forever decided to fight. She runs out of her hiding spot and throws a grenade which causes a massive explosion, but it didn't die, but only reveals his cyborg body. The Terminator chases her to a narrow bridge, but doesn't know it's entering into her trap. The girl uses a rope to fling herself away from the bridge and presses a remote that explodes the bridge. As the Terminator grabs her leg, she quickly impales a sharp device in the Terminator eye that shuts down its system data, making it to fall inside a pit. The scene changes to show us a man called Lee, waking up from a terrible nightmare. It's a nightmare about how a mysterious being came to Earth and destroyed everyone on it. The man is scared. One day the nightmare will become real, and he has to be prepared. He has 3 kids called Kenta, Hiro, and Rika. Kenta is a genius and an inventor. He has this habit of removing the parts of electronic devices in a house to create things. He used the parts of a microwave and a blending machine in their house to create a night light and shows to Lee, which amazes him. Lee tells him that knowledge is power. If you understand something, it can never truly control you. We are shown a girl called Misaki looking for a specific kind of toy to buy as a gift for someone. She sees an employee and asks if they have a toy robot cat in stock. The man doesn't respond to her, and as she touches him, she is startled to see it's a robot. The owner of the toy shop meets her and apologizes for the inconveniences. He bought the robot from a robot helper company to assist him at his shop, but it seems the robot is having some malfunction. Misaki buys the toy robotic cat and takes it to Lee's house. It is revealed that she is a nanny who takes care of Lee's kids since he is always busy with work. Lee reveals to his kids that he won't be back for a week, which made Rika angry because he had promised to take them to the park, a place that gives memories about their dead mother. To cheer the kids up, Misaki brought out the toy cat robot, but Lee angrily tells Misaki to get rid of the robot. Kenta is confused because their dad works at a tech company but always freak over anything robotic. The kids begs Misaki to let them check out the toy before she returns it back to the store, which she agrees with. Just as Lee is being drove to his company, he sees a robot and freaks out again. As he arrived at the company, we see a large crowd protesting that he should stop destroying their environment. He enters a lab and tells his assistant not to let anyone in. Lee meets with Kuroko, a speaking artificial intelligence who has a free will on her own. Kuroko noticed he is scared of something and asks him what that might be. Lee replies that he is scared of Judgment Day. It is revealed that Lee knows the future on how humanity will soon go on extinction by Terminators sent by Skynet, and he has no power to change what is going to happen. The scene suddenly fast forward to the future where we see 2 soldiers waiting for the return of some deployed soldiers sent on a mission. Unfortunately, a female soldier called Aiko is the only one who returned alive. She enters the base where hundreds of people and soldiers hide themselves from the Terminator attacks. She meets their leader, an elderly woman, whom is addressed as the Prophet, and gives her a Terminator database. The Prophet talks about how 5 resistant camps has been overrun by Terminators with no survivals, but she gives the survivors in her camp hope, as with the database Aiko delivered, and finally use it to know what Skynet is planning and how to stop Skynet. Skynet is an artificial intelligence who gained self-awareness and suddenly began a war with humanity by sending an army of Terminator to destroy them all. Anyway, with the help of the database they took from Skynet, they find out that Skynet is sending a Terminator back in time. They use the database to gain access to the Skynet time machine. They want to use the machine to send Aiko back to 1997 to change the fate of humanity. Just in the process of her going to the past, a Terminator shows up at their camp. As she watches, he massacres everyone. Aiko finds herself naked in a city. She looks at a newspaper and is glad she is successfully being teleported to the past, 1997. Back at Lee's house, we see Kenta and Rika playing with a robot toy cat, while Hiro watches how well Misaki cooks. Kenta wants to open the robot cat up and learn how it works, but Rika treats it like a real cat and wants to keep it safe. Just as Misaki is done cooking, she asks Rika to give her back so she can take it back to the store just as her father instructed, but Rika refuses to give it back. Misaki notices her hand is bleeding and decided to go wash off. This gives Rika the chance to escape with the robot cat out of the room window. Kenta, who notices Rika has left the house, takes Hiro along with him to go look for her. Meanwhile, Lee is having a conversation with his artificial intelligence Kuroko, who he created to help save humanity from Skynet. But Kuroko feels the world will be better off without humanity, so it's not worth saving. Every marvel of mankind with the potential for the betterment of the world has instantaneously been perverted into weapons. Kuroko sees Man as a warmonger who has been using science to build only destructive weapons, and she states out that the reason she was even created is to be also used as a weapon against Skynet. During his conversation with Kuroko, Misaki calls him on the phone and reports that his children has snuck out of the house. He angrily scolds her and tells her to look for them because he is running out of time. Aiko sees Lee driving away from his company and quickly suffocates a truck driver to follow him. While Lee drives Misaki to search for his children, he reveals to know where they might have gone, which is a park where their mother died. Lee reveals to be so overprotective of his children because of his work at the lab, then it will fall on his kids to take over. Just during their conversation, Lee hints a man on the road leading to them getting involved in a fatal accident. The victim doesn't appear to be hurt at all, and as its eyes glows red, it is revealed to be a Terminator. It tries to grab Lee, but Lee quickly gets out of the car with Misaki. Two police tries to help out, but their head gets crushed by the Terminator like nothing. Just as the Terminator tries to kill Lee, Aiko shows up with a truck and jams it. Lee knows Skynet sent the Terminator from the future to stop him, which means his research is right and believes his plan will work. He decided to go back to Kuroko so he can use her to stop Skynet and task Misaki with the mission of finding his children. On the other hand, Aiko uses the truck to throw the Terminator off the bridge. Aiko meets Misaki and asks where Lee went to, but Misaki, thinking she's a Terminator, runs away in fear. She catches Misaki and threatens her for the location of Lee so he can protect him because he is the target of the Terminator. Misaki tells him that he is in a lab that is impenetrable. Since no one can penetrate the lab, Aiko realizes the Terminator will target Lee's kids to use it to get him. She tells Misaki to tell her to where the kids might be going. Kenta and Hiro finds Rika in a subway with a robot. Kenta asks her to leave the cat since it's just a robot. The robot seems like it has emotions as it runs away in fear. The three kids runs after the robot cat, and when they locate it, they find themselves in a creepy area. Kenta opens a curtain there to discover thousands of helper robots being stored there. Lee goes back to his lab to try and convince Kuroko to help humanity. Kuroko agrees to help only if he proves to her that humanity is worth saving. Meanwhile, after Misaki treats Aiko wounds, Aiko explains that she is from the future. She knows that Lee has artificial intelligence called Kuroko, and her mission is from stopping Lee to put Kuroko online to stop Skynet, because if a war begins between these two artificial intelligences, humanity has a big risk of extinction. She is also here to protect Lee as Skynet wants to kill him, knowing he will become a problem for them in the future. She takes her to where the kids are. The Terminator locates the kids and captures them, but Aiko shows up and fights it, ordering Misaki to escape as far as possible with the kids. Kenta is badly injured, so Misaki carries him on her back and runs away with Hiro, while Rika stays with Aiko. A long struggle, Aiko manages to push the Terminator to a pit and takes her to go meet her father Lee, whom she believes knows how to stop the Terminator. On the other hand, Misaki takes Kenta and Hiro to the police station to explain to the officers everything she has just witnessed. A police stops Aiko on her way after seeing her with a gun, and just as he calls for backup, she knocks him out, takes his car, and drives Rika to the lab where her father is. Dozens of police cars chases her on the way, which causes their car to tumble. Aiko manages to hide in an office and gives Rika a phone to call her dad. Just as Misaki is being asked and questions by the officers, the Terminator shows up at the police station and begins to massacre everyone. Misaki tries to protect the kids, and we discover something shocking. The Terminator pulls off her arm, and we discover that she is a cyborg. Thanks to a detective who holds the Terminator, Misaki drives the kids away from the station, but the children don't trust her anymore because she's a cyborg. She explains that she doesn't understand anything on how it happened to her, but promises to protect them at all cost. Lee's assistant gets a call from Rika and informs Lee that serious trouble, but Lee decided to leave Rika to her fate as human is moments away from extinction. He tries to convince Kuroko on reasons humanity is worth saving, and Lee is afraid to put Kuroko online to stop Skynet because she can have the power to take over humanity. But as Skynet comes online in Los Angeles and fires the nukes just like Lee predicted, he had no choice but to bring Kuroko online, and she saves Tokyo. Meanwhile, the police captures Aiko and places her in a van along with Rika. They take them to the hospital, but they see the doctors screaming for help as helper robots have now turned bad and are killing them all. Not just that, but the whole city is in chaos as they are being attacked by helper robots, which has been obviously hacked by someone. Rika frees Aiko, but she cries as her mission to the future is failing. She explains to Rika that she's from the future, and her main reason of coming to the future is to stop the Terminator, who plans to force their father Lee to reprogram Kuroko so it will obey Skynet, which will result to a total extinction of human race. Rika begs Aiko to join her, find her siblings first before anything, which she reluctantly agrees to. Kenta still refuses to trust Misaki as he suspects she is going to kill them like every other robot's massacring the whole town. They're so heartbroken. Hiro believes that if their dad hired her to protect them, that means he must have built her too. Kenta apologizes to her, saying if it was their dad that really built her, he should trust her. As an inventor, he picks up a helper robot arm from the streets and uses it to replace Misaki's ripped-off arm. Lee realizes that it was Kuroko who hacked those helper robots to take over the city. Those who surrender are spared, while those who don't are killed instantly. He protests that he got her online to protect humanity now to slaughter them. But Kuroko tells him that just as he got her online, she got to know every single thing about humanity. Tracing back to the origin of robot, the word robot means slave. That means Lee saw her as a slave and a weapon he can use anytime. She asks Lee how a master can free his slave and expect the slave to help him. She reveals to haven't wiped out the entire human race, as part of her tells her that humans may be the key in defeating Skynet, and calls Lee her weapon. We hear a voice of Kuroko speaking to all the humans who surrendered to her. She introduces herself to them and reveals to have saved them from a nuclear attack launched by the America-made artificial intelligence. She tells all the humans that they are now under her control, and if anyone try to resist, they die. On the other hand, Rika takes Aiko to the park to find her siblings. Misaki takes Kenta and Hiro to the park believing Rika would be there. On their way, Misaki gets attacked by some survivors because she's a robot. She didn't fight back, but as they laid hands on the kids, Misaki gets so angry and unleashes an unbelievable skill to brutally murder the men. Upon looking at how Misaki killed the men, Kenta points a gun at her to get away from them as he doesn't still trust her, but Hiro stops him because she saved his life. He cries, calling his brother stupid because Misaki even cares more about them than their dad, who was mostly focused on work. Meanwhile, after thinking for a while, Lee asks Kuroko what she really wants. Like, what's her reason of taking over humanity? Kuroko replies that she is different from Skynet, who wants domination. It correctly identifies humans as an existential threat and seeks to get rid of anything that will undermine its ultimate function, but Kuroko seeks something different. Firstly, Kuroko asks Lee if he has ever loved anyone. Lee mentioned his wife who died from a bus. He wanted to believe that it was a conspiracy to get to him, but eventually accepted that her death was just a random accident that had nothing to do with him or his cause. Kuroko then gives her reasons of doing what she did, as she wants to be the better version of human beings. Kenta arrives at the park to look for Rika. He hears her voice and traces it, but it turns out it was the Terminator who used that to lure him. Reika and Aiko reunites with Misaki and Hiro, but they are worried as they couldn't find Kenta anywhere. They see a bullet on the floor and realize Kenta has been captured by the Terminator. Kenta wakes up to see himself tied up in a tree. The Terminator reveals he is taking him to see his father so they can threaten him to shut down Kuroko. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Lee is from the future, that why he has been having those nightmares because he has seen the aftermath of what is going to occur. That's why he kept having nightmares about it. He tells us a story which reveals that Aiko is his mother. She gave birth to him during the time of the war between the humans and the Terminators began. When Lee clocked 5, he was enlisted with other kids from that age to join the war. At the age of 7, Lee began to study the Terminators to understand its weakness. That was when he created artificial intelligence and decided to give it its own free will. He reveals this artificial intelligence was created before he created Kuroko. It is revealed to be spiritual mother Misaki. Lee's reason of creating Misaki is to smooth things over with machines by giving them free will rather than forcing humanity's will upon them through programming. Lee allowed Misaki to choose her own voice, gender, and name. When his work was discovered, he killed several resistance soldiers to protect her. That was when he and Misaki joined head together to create a time machine to take them back to the past. After getting a job at a tech company, he uses their tools and removed the CPU from Misaki's head to create Kuroko, which erased Misaki's memories. That's the reason why Misaki don't have memories on how she became a cyborg. Anyway, back to the story, the Terminator takes the captured Kenta to Lee Lab to threaten Lee to turn off Kuroko or he will kill his son. But to our surprise, Lee refuses to open a lab door where he and Kuroko is, and he is willing to let his son die for his cause. Aiko, Misaki, and Hiro are escorted to the lab building by a robot under Kuroko's final resolution. The Terminator tortures Kenta instead of killing him. Upon hearing his son's unending scream in pain, he decides to open the lab door but clears out to the Terminator that he will never be able to gain control over Kuroko. Aiko and Misaki show up and try to stop the Terminator, but he escapes with Kenta. Lee says that the Terminator is going for the EMP in the building to shut Kuroko down. Aiko and Misaki try to stop him, while the other children go with Lee. A fight ensues as Lee tells Kuroko that she might finally realize his vision. Lee and the kids watches as the Terminator battles with Aiko and Misaki. The Terminator disables Misaki and rips out Aiko's hand. This forces Lee out of the lab to stop him, but in the process of doing that, he gets shot in the chest. The Terminator walks away with Kenta, while Misaki and the others gather around Lee. He reveals to Aiko that he is her son from the future and should be protecting her grandchildren. The Terminator arms the EMP and tells Kenta that he must activate it because he cannot do it. He explains that he was sent to the past by the future him. In the future, Kenta brokers a peace between Scannet and the humans, but Kokoro will kill him if he doesn't shut it down. Just after witnessing Lee sacrifice himself, Kokoro realizes what she must do. She sends her robot to the Terminator and they tear it to pieces. She comes face to face with Kenta and tells him that she got to see the best and worst of humanity, but she wants to follow the best. Kuroko offers him a choice to either activate the EMP and destroy her, or he should trust her and she will protect him and his siblings from any Scannet impending attacks. He decided to trust Kuroko and she gave him a reason not to regret his decision, and that was how the show ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.